Too empty teachy, teachy, sth, less you worry. The more you live, the noise inside your mind, Mawa's always thinking. Not the kind of thinking that solves problems, but the kind that creates them. Every morning before her feet touched the ground, her mind was already running. What if I'm late? What if my boss is unhappy? What if something goes wrong today? Nothing had happened yet, but in her mind, everything already had. She checked her phone, emails, messages, notifications. A small mistake from yesterday, a delayed reply, a short message from her manager. Her heart tightened. Is something wrong? The day hadn't even started, and yet she was already tired. Emma lived in a beautiful apartment. She had a stable job, good income. People around her often said, "You're lucky." But Emma didn't feel lucky. She felt trapped because no matter where she went, her thoughts followed. Worry had become her habit. On the way to work, she imagined losing her job. At lunch, she worried about her health. At night, she replayed conversations again and again and again. What if I said something wrong? What if they misunderstood me? Her body was safe, but her mind was always in danger. One evening after another exhausting day of doing nothing wrong, but feeling everything was wrong, Emma broke down. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly. On the floor of her room, "I'm so tired." She whispered, not from work, not from life, but from thinking. The next day, something unusual happened. Her company organized a small retreat. Nothing fancy, just a break from routine. Emma didn't want to go. Too many people, too much uncertainty, too many things that could go wrong. But somehow, she went anyway. The retreat was held on the edge of the city. No loud traffic, no constant notifications, just trees, wind, silence. At first, the silence made her uncomfortable, because when everything outside is quiet, you start to hear what's inside, and inside Emma was chaos. That's when she met him. An old monk sitting under a tree, doing nothing. No phone, no book, no movement. Just sitting. Emma watched him for a long time. How can someone just sit there and do nothing? She thought. Finally, she walked closer. "Excuse me," she said softly. "Aren't you bored?" The monk opened his eyes, smiled gently. "I'm not doing nothing," he said. "I'm not worrying." Emma frowned. "What's the difference?" The monk looked at her. Calm present. When you do nothing, but your mind is busy, that is suffering. When you do nothing, and your mind is quiet, that is peace. Emma didn't know why, but those words stayed with her. She sat down next to him at first. Her mind kept running. What am I doing here? This is weird. I should check my phone. But the monk said nothing. Minutes passed, then more minutes. Slowly, something strange happened. Her thoughts didn't disappear, but they slowed down, like waves becoming softer, for the first time in a long time. Emma noticed her breath in, out. Simple but real. The monk spoke again. "Worry comes from the future," he said, "a future that does not exist yet." Emma listened. "You suffer not because of reality, but because of imagination." Those words hit her because it was true. Nothing terrible had happened, but in her mind, everything had. Then how do I stop worrying? Emma asked. The monk smiled. "You don't stop it," he said. "You understand it." Emma was confused. The monk continued. "Worry is like a fire. The more you fight it, the stronger it becomes. But when you see it clearly, it loses its power." Emma sat in silence. For the first time, she didn't try to fix anything. She just observed. Her thoughts came and went, like clouds that day. Nothing in Emma's life changed. Her job was the same. Her problems were still there, but something inside her shifted a small space between her and her thoughts, and in that space, there was peace. You don't become happy when everything is perfect. You become happy when your mind stops making everything a problem. In Theon Bu, CMGK Cheyenne. SDNG, Chai, NHNGR, and HPVA, PHI, TMDNG, NHNG, Cho CCSK, NCHNH, IMTHANH, INHV, Day INGIU, TINTI, THCH Hupcho Triene, Angane Huic, Triene, Terchaki, Psi, NGL, Qwick, Di Arlene, Censure Guy. The less you worry, the more you live the habit of letting go. When Emma returned home, nothing looked different. Same apartment, same job, same life, but her mind was not the same. For the first time, she noticed something. Her thoughts were not her. The next morning, the worry came back. What if I'm late? What if today goes wrong? The same thoughts, the same patterns, but this time, Emma didn't fight them. She remembered the monk's words, understand, don't resist. So instead of reacting, she paused. She took a breath, in, out, and simply said in her mind, this is worry, not my problem, not my reality. Just worry. Something surprising happened. The thought lost a little power. It didn't disappear, but it didn't control her anymore that day at work. A mistake happened, a small one, but before, it would have ruined her entire day. Her mind would spiral. This is bad. My boss will be angry. I might lose everything. She paused. Breath in, breath out, and she asked herself, is this real? Or is this my mind creating fear? Silence, then clarity. It was just a mistake, not a disaster. For the first time, Emma handled it calmly. She fixed it. She moved on. No overthink. No replaying. Just action. That's when she realized worry doesn't solve problems. It multiplies them. Days passed. Emma kept practicing. Not perfectly, but consistently. Every time worry appeared, she didn't run. She didn't fight. She simply watched at night. Instead of replaying the day, she sat quietly, breathing, watching her thoughts come and go. Some were loud, some were painful, but she noticed something. No thought lasts forever, like clouds in the sky. They appear, they change, they disappear, and the sky remains. One evening, Emma returned to the place where she met the monk. He was still there, still sitting, still, calm. She smiled. I tried what you said. She told him, and I still worry, she admitted. The monk nodded. That's natural. Looked confused. I thought I was supposed to stop worrying. The monk smiled gently. No, he said. You are supposed to stop believing every thought you have. Emma froze. Your mind produces thoughts, just like your heart beats. But not every thought is true. Not every thought needs attention. Not every thought deserves your energy. Emma felt something shift again. All her life, she treated every thought like an emergency. Now she saw most of them were just noise. But what about the future? She asked. What if something bad really happens? The monk looked at her. When it happens, you will deal with it. But right now, it does not exist. Why suffer twice? Emma took a deep breath. That question changed everything on the way home. She looked at the city differently. People rushing, cars moving fast, faces filled with tension. Everyone lost in thought, lost in worry. She realized this wasn't just her problem. It was the modern world, always thinking, always planning, always fearing, rarely just living that night. Emma did something simple. She turned off her phone, sat by the window, and watched the sky. No music, No distractions, just being. For the first time in years, she felt something unfamiliar. Not excitement, not achievement, but peace. Not because life was perfect, but because her mind was quieter. You don't need a perfect life to feel peace. You only need a quieter mind. The less you worry, the more you live when life really tests you for a while. Everything felt better. Emma was calmer, more present, less trapped in her own mind, she thought. Maybe this is it. Maybe I've finally figured it out, but life has its own way of testing you. One morning, her phone rang too early. Too sudden, she answered, and everything changed. Her mother was in the hospital. Serious condition. The words blurred together. Emma froze. Her chest tightened. Her hands trembled. The thoughts came. Back, fast, loud, uncontrollable. Double quotes. What if she doesn't make it? What if it's too late? What if I lose her? Her mind was on fire again. All the calm, all the peace, gone, just like before, at the hospital. Machines beeped. Doctors moved quickly. Voices whispered. Emma sat outside the room, alone, waiting. And in that moment, worry didn't feel like a habit anymore. It felt real. This wasn't imagination. This was life. Her mind kept racing. Worst-case scenarios. Fear after fear. She couldn't stop it. Then suddenly, she remembered something. The monk's voice. When it happens, you will deal with it. Emma closed her eyes, took a breath, in, out. Again and again, she didn't try to stop the fear. She didn't try to control the future. She just stayed right there with her breath. With the moment, the fear was still there. But something else appeared, space, a small distance. Between her and the storm in her mind, for the first time, she saw clearly worry was not helping her mother. It was only hurting her. So she made a choice, not to stop caring, but to stop suffering. Unnecessarily, she stood up, walked into the room, held her mother's hand, warm, fragile, real. Instead of imagining the worst, she stayed with what was here, a breath, a moment, a connection. This was reality, not the stories in her head. Hours passed, then more hours sometimes. Fear returned, sometimes tears came, but each time, Emma came back to her breath, to the present, to what was real, and something incredible happened. The situation didn't magically disappear, but her suffering changed. She was still worried, but she was no longer consumed by it. Days later, her mother's condition stabilized. Not perfect, but better. Emma sat beside her, quietly, not thinking, not fearing, just being there in that moment. She understood something she had never understood before. Peace is not the absence of problems. Peace is the absence of unnecessary worry. You can care deeply. Without suffering constantly, you can face reality. Without being destroyed by it, Emma looked at her mother, breathing alive, present, and she realized all the time she had wasted, worrying about things that never happened, all the moments she never truly lived, because her mind was somewhere else now. She was here, and that was enough. Life will always give you reasons to worry, but peace comes when you choose not to suffer more than necessary. The less you worry, the more you live the life you almost missed after the hospital. Life slowly returned to normal. Same job, same routines, same city, but Emma was no longer the same. She began to notice things she had never seen before. The way sunlight entered her room in the morning, the sound of wind moving through the trees, the quiet moments between conversations. Before, these things were invisible because her mind was always somewhere else. In the future, in fear, in worry. Now, she was here. And suddenly, life felt different at work. Something changed too, not the tasks, but how she experienced them. Deadlines still existed, mistakes still happened. Pressure was still there, but the panic was gone because panic was never in this situation. It was in her mind. One afternoon, her manager called her in. "Emma," he said, "we need to talk." A few months ago, this sentence would have destroyed her. Her mind would explode. What did I do wrong? Am I in trouble? Is this the end? But now, she simply breathed in, out, and listened. It wasn't bad news, in fact. It was an opportunity, a new project, more responsibility. Emma smiled, not because life became easier, but because she was no longer making it harder that night. She returned to the quiet place outside the city. The monk was there, as always still, calm, present. Emma sat beside him. "I think I understand now," she said. The monk looked at her. "What do you understand?" Emma paused, then slowly said, "My life didn't change, but my mind did. And because of that, everything feels different." The monk smiled. "That is wisdom," he said. Emma continued, "I used to think happiness comes when problems disappear. But now I see problems are part of life. Worry is optional." The monk nodded. "Yes, pain is natural, is created." Emma looked out at the horizon. The sky was wide open, just like her mind felt now. "But sometimes," she said, "I still worry." The monk laughed softly. "That's okay. You are human. Even the mind has habits." "But now," he continued, "you don't follow every thought. You don't believe every fear. And that is freedom. Not freedom from life, but freedom within it." On her way back home, Emma stopped. She looked at the city, the same place she once felt trapped. Now, it looked different. People still rushed, cars still moved, phones still glowed, but she saw clearly. Most people were not suffering because of life. They were suffering because of their thoughts, living in the future, fighting things that didn't exist, missing the only thing that was real. This moment, Emma took a deep breath, in, out, and smiled. Not because everything was perfect, but because she was finally living the less you worry. The more you see, the more you feel, the more you live. You don't need a new life to be happy. You only need a new way of seeing it. The less you worry, the more you alive. The truth you already know, time passed. Not fast, not slow, just naturally. Emma didn't become perfect. She still had bad days, still had stress, still had moments of fear, but something was different. She no longer believed that worry was necessary. She no longer thought that overthinking meant control. She no longer lived inside her fears. She lived. Here, one evening, she sat by the window, the same place where she once felt trapped. Now, it felt peaceful. She remembered her old self, the constant worrying, the endless thinking, the invisible pressure, always asking, what if something goes wrong? But now, she asked a different question. What if nothing is wrong, except the way I think? And that question freed her. The truth is simple. Life has always been uncertain. People get sick. Plans fail. Things change. You cannot control everything, but you can control how much you suffer. Worry does not protect you. It does not prepare you. It does not change the future. It only steals the present, and the present is the only place life exists. Emma understood this now, not as an idea, but as a way of living. When worry came, she noticed it. When fear appeared, she allowed it, but she didn't follow. She didn't feed it. She let it pass, like clouds moving across the sky. In Buddhist wisdom, they say, suffering comes from attachment, attachment to outcomes, attachment to control, attachment to thoughts, and worry is attachment to the future. the more you hold it. The heavier it becomes, the more you release it. The lighter you feel, Emma didn't escape life. She didn't avoid problems. She didn't become someone else. She simply stopped making life harder than it already was. And in doing that, she found something rare. Peace. Not loud, not dramatic, but quiet, stable, real happiness. It's not the result of having everything under control. It is the result of not needing to control everything. The less you worry. The more you breathe, the more you feel, the more you live. So tell me, right now, are you living your life or just worrying about it?